Usually, the dissonance originates about the sacred sites of the Old Town, one tightly packed box kilometer enclosed by 700-year-old walls. The period he's an humble house, hidden in a mound on a me southward of the white slime of the Old Town, at the epicenter of an continuing policy and tactful quake. The house sits in an indifferently undistinguished neighborhood, enclosed by a little scrawny box homes and the briefcase inn, length ago transformed to an old thoroughness household for Rusky migrant. For 8 years, the house in the neighborhood of Arnona has been the joint state consular agency in Jerusalem, wherever visitors would go to use for visas and resume passports. On Monday, in a rite how will be enclosed in Hoboy and celebrations, the house will formally be the U.S. Legation in Israel in a Go CEO Donald Trump card pledged for his campaigning. Trump card's judgment to announce Jerusalem as the equity of Israel and move the legation down there of Tel Aviv inverted many decades of U.S. overseas politics. It prejudged perhaps the largest susceptible question in the length-running Israelite-Palestinian dispute and set off protests through the Medium East, in lot demonstrations targeting U.S. embassies across the sea. Shimon Aviv, a 45-year-old Israelite gardener who lives close the new legation and was landing flowers external in preparing for Monday, was joyful. This legation resettlement should include been a length period back, but he's superior deceased rather than never, he told. I'm ever lucky to factory, particularly while down there's such a large cause. I expect lot leaders will pursue Trump card's judgment. So distant, just Guatemala and Paraguay, 2 countries in big evangelic believer populations, announced they will go their embassies to Jerusalem. But Trump card has not been swayed by the absence of world supporting for his go, and no one has Israel. It is a large judgment, opined Rikki Tijman, a 52-year-old Israelite female who lives close the quickly to be legation. I'm agitated how eventually Jerusalem is acknowledged as our equity. It is one of the big things how happened to our nation. Irrepressible by the perspective of added safety, traffic jam and maybe though protests in the neighborhood, Tijman told, nice job CEO Trump card. The synchronization of the discovery seems geared to happy Israelis and wrath Palestinians. One day up the discovery of the legation, Israel celebrates Jerusalem date, labeling which Israelis believe the reunion of the town. The day of the legation discovery is the 70th anniversary date of the basis of the country of Israel, although not onto the Hebrew schedule by that it is usually noted in Israel, how was recent monthly. On May 15, the day following the legation opening, Palestinians mark which they urge the Nakba or disaster, in RAM of the more than rather than 700,000 Palestinians who were each managed of, or fled, their homes for the Arabic-Israeli war how followed the create of the country of Israel in 1948. The day frequently brings common demonstrations and is deliberate a day of weeping. One day after is the at first day of Ramadan, a sacred monthly for Muslim how frequently sees a peak in tensions among Israelis and Palestinians. The town of Bethlehem is approximately 5 miles of the website of the new legation, but it feels lot further off rather than how, meeting over the specific side how separates Israel and the Western banking. Kader Youssef, who drives taxis and sells harvest in the town, told No Palestine should take the reality of driving the legation. This U.S. is proverb how we include anything more than in Jerusalem. They are expressive, us how we include no expect in a Palestine country in Jerusalem as the equity, the 53-year-old told. Out of a war down there will never be world, and which was undertaken in force can't be refundable out of force. Trump card has pledged to stamp this final transactions to give steady world among Israelis and Palestinians, but world seems further off rather than always. Although Palestine credibility CEO Mahmoud Abbas was encouraging following Trump card's at first trip to the area recent May, though proverb we trust on deity, and later thou, how hopefulness has taken into account way to a really various fact. Next Trump card's acceptance of Jerusalem as the equity of Israel in December, the Palestine credibility froze pin in the US authority. Such relations stay concluded in permafrost, as Abbas has vowed to deny any suggestion put striker by the Americans. The indignation is tangible among common Palestinians. If we don't take the invasion, how will we take driving the legation, requested Abu Mohammed al-Mashni rhetorically. Trump card gave an world legality for Jew to hold Jerusalem. He gave them the order to get Palestine, told al-Mashni, a 57-year-old spices and coffee vendor who planned close the Bethlehem control point. If the earth is really expensive to us, we can't not be irate. How wrath was tempered in disappointment for several, who see few options for policy or tactful advance by Abbas. The aging CEO many faces a expansion fracture in Gaza Strip and decreasing concern in the Palestine region amongst provincial Arabic leaders. Driving the legation doesn't do a distinction on the land. He's already down there, shrugged Yahya al-Khatib, who coaches the Palestine domestic basketball game crew. He's a embarrassment on the policy standard. Palestine political community and Arabic leaders should begin thought a various way if they vary thoroughness on the Palestine country vision. The Trump card authority has vowed to shove Stryker in its Israelite-Palestinian world schedule, but the two sides could not be in more than diametrally opposed official position, of the road to the by the government. Israelis are excited in Trump card's seemingly unfaltering supporting for Israel. Palestinians are disappointed, though angry, in a CEO who has so solidly undertaken one party. Taking into account how fact, it is not clear why each would be enforced to say affirmative, while Trump card eventually puts his length-awaited schedule on the spreadsheet.